everyone, welcome back to Simrai Fashion Academy YouTube channel once again for the continuation of our sew along corset project. So right now we want to continue where we stopped. This is the 8th part of this sew along project, and the last time we had this tutorial we have our back and front bodies together. So today we will be sewing the neckline. Okay, so if you are new to this channel or this is your first time joining the sew along, please, I encourage you to go back to the sew along project part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 before you will know what we are doing right here in the part 8 of this project. Okay, all right, so if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every time. Like this video, share to family and friends, and drop your comment on the comment section below and your suggestions as well. So right now we want to go ahead to begin this tutorial. So this is the front part of this, and you can see I also have the lining part. So I'll just kiss right side to right side and I'll start to merge what I have together. Okay, so I'm going to merge seam line to seam line for each. You can see the seam lines, so I'm going to merge them together for each, as you can see, making sure they match up together. And I'm going to match the necklines from that point. I'm going to match the necklines till I get to the other end. Okay, so I'm also going to do the same for this part right away. So I'll be going over to the machine now. We'll be sewing what we have on the neckline right on the machine. Okay, so we are sewing the neckline for the front, and we'll also sew the neckline for the back. So you have to make sure everything matches up accordingly before we sew. So we are sewing and we are also back stitching, top stitching on top of it. So I'm done joining the neckline for the front, as you can see. All right people, so it's high time for us to start sewing right now. So this is the armhole for the off shoulder, and this is the neckline which we have just pinned. So I come in with what I have right here. That is my hemming gum. I love to sew my necklines with my hemming gum, and I'm going to sew right on top of my pin. So as I'm sewing right now, I leave my zipper allowance of 1 inch. So I will leave it at 1 inch, and then I'll place my hemming gum 0.25 below, and I'll sew at 0.5. okay, so here I'm sewing at 0.5, as you can see right here. So I will sew from that part right on top of my pins. Okay, so I'm sewing right on top of my pins, as you can see. So I'll backstitch at that point. So this is what I get for the back neckline, and this is the same way I'm going to also sew the other piece of the back neckline. Okay, so right here I'll take off what I have, as you can see, and cut off my excess hemming gum. So now I'm going to go over to the sewing of the front neckline. So this is the front neckline, so you can see I have my pins at that point as well. So I'm going to place my hemming gum as well, 0.25 down, and I'll sew at 0.25, that is 0.5, and then I'm going to sew following the shape of the neckline and sewing right on top of my pins. So you can see I'm sewing at 0.5. So I'm following the curvy part of the neckline. You can see the curvy part of the neckline That is what I'm following at 0.5 with my hemming gum. So I'm just taking my time at this point. So once I get to the center front, I will stop, raise my presser foot, and continue the process. Okay, so I'll also sew, because this part is the center front and it's supposed to lay straight. Okay, that is the part we take 0.5, 0.5, that is 1 inch. So it lays straight for me, and I'll sew to that other point. Okay, so once I get to that point, I'll raise my presser foot again, and I'll continue with my hemming gum. So you can see how I turn my hemming gum for a better effect. So I'll keep sewing, arranging the hemming gum like that, sewing at 0.5. so make sure you sew at 0.5 to the end, and I'll back stitch. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the back, then I'll be back to show you how to top stitch. Alright, so right now you can see I'm done sewing the other piece of the neckline. So for the curvy part of my neckline, I'll just place my notches. As you can see, I'm just placing some notches at the neckline because we have a sweetheart neckline at this point. So I'll just notch before I top stitch. So I'm going to flip. I will use this to show you how to top. Alright, so now I'll be using this part of the back to show you how to top stitch. This is the hemming gum, as you can see, and these are my stitches. So all I'm going to do is to flip my stitches on the part of the lining. You can see that all my stitches goes to the lining, and then I'm going to top stitch. So this is the 1 inch for our zipper. So I'm going to start my top stitching from this point. So I'm going to sew very close. That is top stitching for you. Very close. Can you see that? And that is that. Okay, so I'm going to use this process to top stitch the other piece of the neckline. That is the front piece. So this is the front piece right now. I'll flip all the seams to the lining. So now I'm top stitching the front neckline while I have all the seams. Okay, remember I told you to flip all the seams to the part of the lining. So I'll be sewing very close. You can see that I'm sewing very close. As I'm sewing, I'm opening my seams. As you can see, can you see that I'm opening my seam? So once I get to this point where I have this connection of the cup, I'll raise my presser foot and keep my presser foot straight while I still have all my seams on the part of the lining. So once I get to the next one, I'll raise my presser foot and continue the top stitching like that till I get to the end. Okay, so this is the end of it, and I'll back stitch right away. So I'm going to repeat the same thing right here and give it a good press. We'll be back to show you what next to do. So you can see how the neckline has been sewn. So we have the corset sewn together, the neckline, and have been ironed and given a good press. So the next thing we want to do now is to start sewing the down part of this. So this is the back pattern. I've already cut and I've added my necessary seam allowances. So I added my seam allowance on the back skirt, the center part. I added 1 inch. That is for our zipper, and we are going to also sew a back slit to it. And on the side, I also added 1 inch allowance. Okay, so now I want to talk about the back piece. Alright, so the front piece of this, you can see it right here, the upper the basque part, and this part is on fold. I have both lining and fabric cut together right away. So I'm taking off my pattern immediately because we want to work on the basque. Okay, so you can see the front pattern now. So this is the basque. I'll just open it up the way it's going to sit, and this is it. So what we have right here, you can see the basque is fitting in accordingly. Can you see? It's matching up accordingly. So now I'm separating the lining piece, and we are going to work only on the attachment of the basque. So if you look here, you can see I also left, I did not sew to the end. As you can see, I left about 1 inch, so we'll be able to sew backs. So this is the basque, this is the front side, and this is the front side of the skirt. So I'll just flip it like this, as you can see. Alright, so like I earlier noted, there are so many ways you can actually sew your basque. Okay, so this one, I am making a notch. I want to show you the easiest method for those who are starting newly. So I just made a notch, a little notch, to enable me sew my backs. That is on the backs bodies, and I come in on the backs, that is the basque itself, the skirt part. I'll also make a notch, a little notch. Can you see? So that is the easiest method for you to sew your basque, and I did this at the center basque for both of them. So once I pick up this and pick up this, can you see? So everything matches up together, and it's easy for me to sew. So I'm going to secure that part, and I'm going to sew from center point line to center point. So you can see both has a little notch. Can you see that? So it makes it easy for us to navigate that point, because some people find it difficult to sew their basque. So make sure you have the backs. I'm losing my pin to make sure I have it exactly matching up at the center line. So you can see the notches are there for both of them. So I'll secure it with my pin, and once I drop my presser foot at the center, I'll start sewing at 0.5. Can you see that? So I'm sewing at 0.5 now. You can see me arranging my fabric. So with that little notch, I find it easy now to sew my backs with ease. So I'm going to start from center, and I'll sew to the end. So I've sewn to the end of it. Alright, so right now I'm done sewing from center line from this point. So now you can see the notch I made. I also made on the dress. So to avoid all those foldings you notice in some basques after sewing and turning them, you can see the notches here will be of help to us. So now I'll be starting from the end to sew right away, okay, and I'll come back here. So make sure you sew on top of the skirt. When you are sewing your back, sew on top of the skirt, because the skirt has a tendency of folding, okay, because it's actually light, as you can see. So as you can see, I've already pinned my backs on the line, making sure it aligns appropriately. So I'll just push this part so it gets to this point before I secure with my pin. So make sure you sew on top of your skirt so you don't have the skirt squeezing, okay. So you can see me aligning the skirt and the basque, so the upper basque and the lower basque meets at a particular point. So I'm sewing right here, making sure I eliminate those folds. Can you see? So that is why you need to sew on top of your skirt, and you need to make your notch. So I'm taking the 0.5 inch back to the basque where I started. That is the center front, okay. Make sure you don't sew past that point. So once you get there, you raise your presser foot once again. You are not supposed to pass that point, and then make that V shape, okay. So I'm trying to raise my presser foot to continue the V shape, as you can see, and I'll back stitch. So I'm going to repeat the same process right now. So you can see we have the V sewn together with ease. So I'm going to make notches right here. I'm making notches to ease my backs, okay. So make sure you take it easy. Make your notches like that, like that. Then I'm going to repeat the same process for both lining and the size. Then I'll be back to show you what next to do. All right, people, so now I'm done giving my basque a good press. So you can see everything is looking sharp at that point. You can see the V shape is sharp at that point. So if you follow that method I just taught you of sewing your backs, making sure you have your fabric on top, okay? The lower parts you have to stitch on top of the lower piece, so you'll be able to have the V shape accordingly. I also employ the same method for the lining. So for the inner part of the lining of the basque, you can see is also V shaped, okay? So sewing your backs that way gives it a makes it easier for you. So I've joined the back pieces. As you can see, I've joined the back pieces. All right, so I've joined the lower piece also, both for lining and for fabric. So you can see what we have, and this is the zipper position. All right, so this is how we'll be ending this part 8 of this corset sew along. So in the next tutorial we'll be going over to another stage. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this each day. Like this video, share to family and friends, and drop your comments on the comment section and suggestions as well. So thank you for coming once again, and see you in the next class. Bye.